What's up, nerds, and welcome to the Nerd History Podcast, a proud part of the Love Thy Nerd Podcast Network, and your home for celebrating the nostalgia that has shaped nerd culture. Today, I'm Radio Matt, and I am the Director of Content and Resources for Love Thy Nerd, and with me today and forevermore is my amazing bride, Daedra.
Hey, how's it going?
It's Season 3. We're here and we're excited. We are the Nerd Historians, and today on the show, we're going to be taking a look at the Justice League, which will celebrate its 65th anniversary on January 31st. Wow. 65 years. So like I said, this is our Season 3 premiere, and we're doing things a little differently this go-round. We are going to break away from the standard LTN Podcast Network schedule. We're going to be bringing one big episode a month, doing a deep dive into something celebrating an anniversary that month. Mm-hmm. And this is both a lighter schedule for us because life is hectic and we're tired, but also a longer schedule too because we're not taking the two-month breaks that normal LTN podcasts take. Mm-hmm. So while there will be less episodes overall, you will at least have a steady schedule of episodes, one a month. About the middle of the month, the whole year. The whole year is our Season 3.
Let's go 2025.
12 awesome episodes coming your way.
Woot.
We're also very grateful to have reached over 200 subscriptions on our YouTube channel, which
Awesome.
It's not an astronomical number, but it's a great number for a YouTube channel that started fresh in May of this past year.
Also, I don't even know 200 people, so
right.
I appreciate it.
So we're very excited. We do know that the Today in Nerd History shorts is likely where a lot of people are finding our channel. And so if you found us through those are not going anywhere. They will be keeping on moving forward. But every now and then you'll get a longer form episode from us. Now, let's travel back in time to revisit the formation of perhaps the most well-known superhero team ever, the Justice League. Mm-hmm. So, we, as nerds, love it when our favorite heroes team up because it multiplies the excitement, the sense of wonder that comes from watching them individually. Now they have that group dynamic, and we see how they interplay with each other's strengths and weaknesses. It's often very humorous at the start. You see them team up to face bigger foes than they can normally face alone. Like, I'm not sure I felt that ever reading the comics, but when I really felt that for the first time, that just sense of wonderment seeing superheroes team up was watching the Avengers in theaters for the first time. Because while there had been like very crappy team up made for TV movies, and we'd had cartoons growing up and stuff like that, to see a full-fledged big budget team up of four really awesome heroes that were already established in their own films come together, it was a big deal.
Right.
And I would say more so than like Endgame or Infinity War. Those were great because they were amazing stories, but this was already great just by the fact that, oh my gosh, it's happening.
Right. Like, I think it was so great because they all like had their own movie individually. And they've been doing that a lot with superhero movies, right? Like, you know.
Nowadays,
they'd all get their own little movie, and then that would be it. And now they all got their own movie, and they're going to be together. Yeah, it's all the same people.
It was rare they even acknowledged that there were other superheroes in this world.
Right.
If anything, there'd be a slight nod or an inside joke, but for the most part, it's like, nope, Superman is the only superhero in this universe. Right. Batman's the only superhero in this universe. And to see, I mean, Iron Man was a huge experiment, you know, to see if we could even do this. But they knew that they were going to go that way from the beginning because they had that teaser at the end, which I missed. I didn't even know it existed, with Nick Fury at the end saying, I want to talk to you about the Avengers Initiative, for like 5 years. because that wasn't really a thing.
Right.
It was very rare you had like an end credit scene.
We have to stay through the credits.
We have to, no matter what.
Yeah. Thanks a lot.
And then, of course, we had the Justice League movie that came out several years later, which just makes me sad to think about. But fortunately, that's not the version of the Justice League we're talking about right now. Let's talk about the comics, the very first team up. The very first Justice League adventure actually debuted in issue 28 of The Brave and the Bold, which is historically a comic strip where different heroes team up. It's usually one-on-one. People that don't often team up together. There have been runs where it's like always Superman and Batman, but like that series constantly goes, and it's usually one superhero teaming up with another that's not common. And so it's a fun thing. Here, this is kind of the kickoff episode issue of the Justice League. It was a story that came out on January 31st, 1960. That's when it hit the shelves, with the publication date of February and March of 1960. The two different comic book dates is always confusing. It was written by Gardner Fox, illustrated by Mike Sikowski. And at the time, DC was looking to bring together its most popular heroes in a single team, inspired partly by the success of the Golden Age Justice Society of America. So that was like the early Flash with the, cool helmet, original Green Lantern that wasn't a space cop, just a guy who found a rock. All those guys. And the threat was Starro the Conqueror, who was a giant starfish.
Okay. All right. Giant starfish.
The heroes unite to battle a giant telepathic alien starfish who sets out to subdue Earth.
Wow.
Starro can multiply smaller versions of itself, latch on to humans, and control them mentally.
Ooh, fun. So they're like all running around with a starfish on their face?
Yeah, it's like Futurama. They have those brain slugs. You remember that? No, this is my new hat. Would you like a hat?
I got you an official Bender hat.
Wow, thanks, Hermes. Hey, cut that out.
But it's similar to that. They played this out in the second Suicide Squad movie.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
They played it out about as good as it could be played out, I think. But that's never going to be the actual movie version of Justice League's first villain. I don't see it happening.
I keep picturing the little starfish that pops out of the thing on Home, the end of the movie Home. It's like this little starfish guy.
Oh, right. Yeah. I mean, he doesn't have a face, but similar. Yeah, sure. So we see the heroes assemble here, and it is the big seven of the Silver Age, which are, see if you can name the big seven. The original Justice League. Come on.
Superman.
That's one.
Batman,
that's two.
Wonder Woman.
That's the Trinity. You got them. Who's next?
Flash.
Barry Allen.
Green Lantern.
Hal Jordan.
Do I just have one left?
You have two more.
Two more.
Come on.
I'm like just begging myself not to name a Marvel superhero. Please.
Captain Marvel is in both, so you're okay. But he's not in the big seven.
Stretchy Pants McGee.
Stretchy Pants McGee is not one of the original seven. Can I give you a hint?
Sure.
One of them's from the ocean.
Oh, okay. Aquaman.
And the original seventh is just as powerful as Superman. And people forget that all the time.
Supergirl?
He is a man. He is also the lone survivor of his home planet. but his home planet is in our solar system.
Oh, the Martian.
Martian Manhunter. Yeah. Green skin.
I always forget about him.
Everybody does. Everybody's
So
always
sad.
forgetting about the Martian
sad.
Manhunter. However, in the first Starro story, Superman and Batman only make brief cameo appearances.
Oh.
They were often kept to the sidelines in the early team books to avoid overexposing them. Starro comes to Earth, reproducing those starfish spores and targeting major cities around the globe. Flash, Green Lantern, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and Martian Manhunter split up to tackle different Starro-related threats, illustrating how each hero's unique powers contribute to the mission. In a twist, a civilian named Snapper Carr, later known as the Justice League's honorary mascot, accidentally discovers that ordinary lime, calcium oxide, can weaken and defeat Starro. This discovery allows the heroes to overcome the alien menace for good.
So, wait, hold on.
Yeah.
So if I just squirt lime all over my face, I'm good.
I'm not sure. I feel like that would be bad for you. I feel like you can't put like lime juice, sure, but I feel like you can't put lime calcium oxide
Oh,
on
no,
your
I was
face.
talking about like lime. Like,
No, you're crazy. Lime, the chemical, the cleaning solution. What is lime used for?
I don't know.
It's a cleaning solution, but I don't know how. For what?
For the hard water deposits, maybe?
That sounds right.
Right?
That sounds right. Anyway, with Starro defeated, the heroes decide to formalize their alliance as the Justice League of America. The team proved immensely popular, quickly graduating to its own Justice League of America series that started in late 1960. The lineup ushered in the Silver Age concept of a partnership superhero team, serving as a direct inspiration for later expansions, reboots, and even Marvel's Avengers, which debuted in 1963. In sum, the original formation of the Justice League was a response to an overwhelming alien threat that no single hero could tackle alone. So let's talk about those heroes a bit more. Superman, I feel like you are fairly familiar with, if for no other reason than Smallville. Smallville, not a completely comic accurate representation, but the big hits are there. The big lore is there.
Was every member of the original Justice League in Smallville? No. Wonder Woman. I don't.
There
did we
was
ever
no
see
Batman or Wonder Woman.
Batman. That's right.
They were teased. There also was no Green Lantern.
Yeah.
All of them were in the season 11 comic book that came out
Okay.
for the next couple of years. He had encounters with all three of them, I believe. I know Batman and Green Lantern for sure. I'm not sure about Wonder Woman now that I say that out loud. But we'll talk about Smallville a little bit more. But Superman, everybody's familiar with. There have been 1,000 adaptations with another one on the way. That looks really good. I'm really excited for it. Batman, of course, for the same reason. Billion different versions of him, but all the key points everybody really knows. But like we said, Superman and Batman were originally just cameos. Even though they were among the founders of the team, the DC editors were worried that they were going to overexpose these two because they already had multiple titles to their own names coming out each month. And so they really wanted to highlight and spotlight the other less popular, but still fairly popular superheroes in the Flash, Green Lantern, Martian Manhunter, stuff like that. Wonder Woman, also a part of the original team. Wonder Woman is really, like, she's been around for a long time. Very clearly, like, the main female among all of DC Comics, like the one they really push for, along with, I guess, Batgirl, that they really push for, like, girls, DC merch, and things of that nature. But, you know, Amazonian princess, super strong, has an invisible jet, which is weird.
Why not?
The way they did that in the movie was also strange. But anyway, I really liked the movie.
Yeah.
I found out not a lot of people liked it, but I liked it.
I really liked it.
It was like split, 50-50 kind of, but I thought it was amazing.
I liked it.
Then we had The Flash, which is Barry Allen. This is the original Silver Age Flash. We've had many Flashes over the years. He was the original Silver Age Flash, blonde hair detective dude, gets struck by lightning and a bunch of chemicals at the same time, and now he can run. Had a very popular Arrowverse TV show that was really great for 4 seasons. Then it really started to go downhill from there. When every season your big bad is just another fast dude,
Yeah.
gets a little hard to keep it fresh.
Yeah.
But anyway, I did enjoy it a lot. Green Lantern, Hal Jordan, also like the original Silver Age Green Lantern. Quite a few more Green Lanterns than any other superhero. Basically because it's a space cop corps. There's 2 for every sector of the entire universe. And like 8 from Earth. Like the Earth gets a lot for some reason.
Because,
Because it's where
We got all the
DC Comics
problems.
comes from. Yeah. Martian Manhunter, of course, like I said, green skin, can make himself look like anybody else. Has several of the same powers as Superman, but a very worse kryptonite for him, which is fire. Like fire is
any fire.
Any fire is his weakness.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Aquaman. Bubble Boy. Fun note here, which is hilarious given your forgetting of him. Many casual fans don't realize Aquaman was part of the Justice League from day one.
Wow. Yeah. Not me. I named him right away.
Thanks to the Super Friends TV show and countless jokes about talking to fish, he is often overlooked and thought of as a joke, which is kind of why they really went so hard in making that Aquaman movie with Jason Momoa, making him look like a bad dude.
Big tough
Bad dude.
Yeah.
And I think succeeded. That movie also great. Real good. Real good. He is every bit as important as the big 3, Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman, when it comes to founding the team. Other people that joined the league over the next several years was Green Arrow. Very popular character.
I didn't even think about Green Arrow.
The Atom, Ray Palmer. Guy can drink. Hawkman, Carter Hall. And Black Canary. Black Canary joined in Justice League of America number 75. But she was also a replacement for Wonder Woman, sort of, in the 60s. DC Comics temporarily took away Wonder Woman's powers in her own comic. And so she stopped appearing in the Justice League storyline as well. So Black Canary ended up filling her spot for many Justice League of America adventures in the 60s, which is part of why Canary became so closely associated with the League and then eventually joined it. They called it Justice League, even though they had already had a Justice Society, because they wanted to give it a more exciting feel. Justice Society. That sounds like a group of old fuddy-duddies in a warehouse meeting about permits or whatever.
Drinking tea.
Drinking their sugarless teas. But according to some accounts, Gardner Fox pitched the name Justice League because he wanted something that evoked a modern day popularity of a sports league, like baseball. So this was a more a fresh, dynamic team brand, the Justice League. The League's first headquarters was in a dank cave. Before, and it wasn't like the Batcave. It wasn't the Batcave. The Justice League held meetings in the Secret Sanctuary, a hidden cavern outside of Happy Harbor, Rhode Island. This unassuming base contrasted with their later high-tech digs up in space. But yeah, this is typically the basic lineup of heroes that people think with the classic Justice League. But this was far from the only version of the Justice League. We had the satellite era Justice League. In the 1970s through the 80s, it's called the satellite era because they created an orbiting satellite base that went around the Earth.
Okay.
It started with that same set of heroes, but it eventually ballooned well beyond the founders. Black Canary, Elongated Man, which is Mr. Stretchy Pants that you talked about earlier. Red Tornado, robotic superhero. Hawk Girl, Zatanna, the magic lady. Firestorm, the two guys that mesh together and make the nuclear man. Green Arrow, Hawkman also kind of rotated in and out. This era ended with internal tensions and major crises that kind of led to the reorganization of the League. And then we got to what's become known as Justice League Detroit, which reminds me of Community, where like toward the back end of Community, they had that Kick Puncher series of movies. And the last one we see is like, oh, Kick Puncher Detroit.
Puncher Detroit? No way! This is sold out everywhere.
Not everywhere. Got a cousin in Detroit. They're not crazy about it up there.
It's just it seems so low budget. No offense, Detroit, but nothing with your name at the end of it. All right. This people did not like this version. It only lasted a couple years. Most of these runs, these eras, last at least a decade. This lasted 3 years, a little over 3 years. The core roster was Aquaman, who was initially the leader of the team, like no Superman or Batman. Martian Manhunter, the Elongated Man, Zatanna, Vixen, which is she's got like animal powers. I don't quite remember exactly how that works. Gypsy, I don't remember. Steel, which not Steel, Superman Steel, but Steel.
A man made of steel.
Also can kind of become metal. I don't know how. Steel's confusing.
Okay.
He was played in the DC Legends of Tomorrow, I think by the 3rd season. I think he's ex-military. He wears like a red, white, and blue kind of suit in the comics. I'm pretty sure he's just a normal dude. Maybe is strong as Steel. It might be a Captain America-esque thing. I'm not entirely sure. And I feel like there's also been several versions of him. And then
different things going on.
Yeah. Anyway, and Vibe, which is played by Ramon Cisco Ramon in The Flash, but his name was Paco Ramon in Justice League Detroit.
Is that where you got your name, Paco?
No, that's a whole. You can't just throw out a factoid about me that nobody knows from 30 years ago.
Gosh, you're old.
The run was very, very unpopular. It did end just a couple years in, just before the Legends miniseries and the post-Crisis on Infinite Earths revamp, which you will recall was the big storyline where they kind of brought in all of the conflicting timelines and everything and alternate versions of the same superhero into one big story. And then it ended to where we just had the one timeline. So it brought everything into one canonical thing, which was still a fantastic series.
Didn't it screw something up that I didn't like, though?
What?
I don't remember. I just remember like being mad about it. I don't know.
They killed Supergirl and Barry Allen. Was that part of it?
Probably not.
Okay, because I brought them both back. All right, so that led us to Justice League International. This was a more humorous version of the Justice League. It didn't last super long either when we're just talking about that main JLI, but it also had spin-offs of a new kind of Justice League America and Justice League Europe. It's like they broke apart into several different Justice Leagues. But Justice League International was led by Batman and Martian Manhunter, Black Canary. It had Guy Gardner as a Green Lantern, which is the red-headed bowl cut guy who is played by Nathan Fillion in the upcoming Superman movie, and he's got the bowl cut, and I'm excited. He's the really angry, frustrated Green Lantern, mad that he wasn't picked to be the main Green Lantern, that Hal Jordan was picked, and then Jon Stewart was picked before him, and that was like the third choice. He's always had a chip on his shoulder about that. Dr. Fate, the guy with the gold helmet. Blue Beetle, Ted Kord. Booster Gold as well. Fantastic team, which you can already tell because it's got those two in them. It's going to be funny. Mr. Miracle, Captain Marvel, Shazam, and Captain Atom, Fire, Ice, Rocket Red, they all kind of looped in and out as well. It was a very big and very strange team. And again, a lot of humorous, character-driven storylines in these as opposed to just fighting big bads. Then this led to the Justice League America and Justice League Europe, which kind of split the teams up and added a few more different characters. The American one, of course, was led by the core Justice League International team. And then Justice League Europe had Wally West, the Flash, Elongated Man, Power Girl, which is an alternate universe version of Supergirl, Dr. Light, and Crimson Fox, and all these different very lesser-known superheroes.
Wow.
Over time, the membership changed quite frequently, but the comedic tone and the international structure kind of remained the hallmark of this time all the way up through the mid-90s. The mid-90s is when we got one of the big names in comic book writing for DC Comics, Grant Morrison. Grant Morrison brought back the Big Seven. Okay, so we returned in 1996 through the early 2000s with Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Wally West, Flash, Kyle Rayner, Green Lantern, who at this time was the only Green Lantern in the universe because Hal Jordan, Green Lantern, went nuts and killed them all.
Oh, dang.
Yeah.
Okay.
The only person that survived was Ganthet, the little blue man who gave the final ring to Kyle Rayner, a painter. Aquaman was also part of the team again, Martian Manhunter as well. During that run, they added Steel, John Henry Irons, the Superman Steel. Huntress, which was Batman's daughter in a different timeline.
Sure.
Sure. Plastic Man, which is the other Mr. Stretchy Pants. The goofier one with the big glasses and the weird spandexy, almost circus-like costume that he wears. Oracle in a supporting role. Oracle is Batgirl post Death in the Family. Why can't I remember? Post whatever that big. Oh man, all the nerds are going to be so mad at me. The Batman story where Robin dies, I think, is also where... Is it Death in the Family? I think it's Death in the Family. Anyway. I don't know. Oracle gets, I think, shot and paralyzed. And so she's in a... Batgirl does. And so she's in a wheelchair and she becomes kind of like the girl in the chair, you know, from like Spider-Man. Like she's the one in the computer telling everybody where to go, hacking into everything, all that stuff.
Gotcha.
A couple other people as well joined the team over that time. After Morrison's departure in the year 2000, the JLA title continued with other writers like Mark Waid and Joe Kelly. Added members like Faith, Major Disaster, Jason Blood, Manitou Raven. This was tail end of the 90s, early 2000s is when everything was like hardcore. Everything had to be. And so a lot of these characters were like that.
Blood and guts.
Yeah. Then we had leading up to 2005, 2006 with Infinite Crisis. So this was like a sequel series to Crisis on Infinite Earths. It brought back the Superman and the Superboy that gave up their lives to stand guard over the shards of the multiverse or whatever. And they decide, we made the wrong choice. It should have been us that survived and not them. Fantastic return. Only way they could have done it, in my opinion. Great story. After this event, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman hang it up for like a whole year. And so this was, you might recall, I had these for a while, the 52 series.
Yeah.
Do you really?
I really do.
Oh, okay. The way you said it so quickly without thinking,
No.
I thought you were a bit.
Earlier you said
totally believe it.
52, and I was like, oh, yeah, I remember he collected
so that,
those.
that tells the story of the time where they're gone, like that 1 year.
Okay.
But the rest of the comics jumped to 1 year later. And so 1 year later, they kind of come back and reform a new Justice League with those three: Black Canary, Red Arrow, which is Roy Harper, Vixen, Black Lightning, Hal Jordan, as he is back at this point. And then we get like Hawkgirl, Wally West, Flash, Jason Roush, Firestorm, Zatanna, all these people that we're fully aware of. But this is like almost a renaissance for DC Comics. This was a really good time in DC Comics. Very beautiful. Led up to Final Crisis, Brightest Day, and ultimately Flashpoint, which brought us the new 52. So this was where things changed. Things changed a whole bunch because it was kind of like we started new. All the comic books that have been going forever started back at number one. Like Action Comics, which was in like the 700s or 800s at that point, back to number one.
Wow.
Actually, it might have been in the 900s. Anyway, everything started back at number one. It was supposed to be brand new stories, brand new takes on it, brand new continuity, all of this. Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Hal Jordan, Green Lantern, Barry Allen, Flash, Aquaman, but not Martian Manhunter.
Why not?
Because instead they chose to make Cyborg a founding member, which I don't understand. Because Cyborg is already a big deal in Teen Titans.
Right.
One of the key members of Teen. If he's not in Teen Titans, I don't want to read Teen Titans. I don't know if it had to do with the fact that they wanted more diversity among it because Cyborg is black. Martian Manhunter in like movies and TV is often portrayed as like when he's in human form, he's a black man. But in the comics, it hasn't been that. Like that's not the rule. And so like when we're watching them on TV or in the movies, like, well, of course they've got representation already. He's portraying a black man like all the time, usually in the military, some form or another. But in the comics, I feel like maybe they needed a little bit more representation, which I understand. I get the change, but it feels like they ripped the heart out of the Teen Titans,
right?
To do this, which whatever. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. Additional members and spin-offs included Element Woman, Firestorm, Jessica Cruz, Green Lantern, which she was actually the Green Lantern, or they're not called Green Lantern, Green Ring, something like that, from like the evil universe Justice League, led by Ultraman. Like she was led, the ring that she used then like had a control over her. Oh. Like it forced itself on her and she was afraid of it. And so they did this whole, I think, beautiful storyline of her overcoming that fear and then becoming a real Green Lantern. Oh. It was really cool. Cool. Not everybody's into it. I liked it. We also had members like Catwoman, and they even created a whole Justice League Dark, which had Constantine, Zatanna, Deadman. Like they did a lot of stuff in the New 52, trying some new stuff out. When they finally abandoned the New 52 and went back to the original numbering of a lot of the original stuff and all this, we had the post-Rebirth Justice League, which was Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Barry Allen, The Flash, Cyborg, and then Jessica Cruz and Simon Baz, both Green Lanterns, who were almost like the team, like they were a buddy cop kind of thing in the Green Lantern main storyline. So they just made them both a part of the Justice League at the time.
Were they both assigned to Earth?
They were both, yeah, they were like the newest assigned to Earth ones. Simon Baz was a Muslim character whose like original story was he got mistaken for someone else who planted a bomb. It was a very like, are you a terrorist kind of storyline, and he wasn't. And then he got the ring and had to make choices on how he was going to use the power that he finally had now that he was in control. And it's good. And they were good for each other, Simon Baz and Jessica Cruz. I don't know if they're still a thing now. I mean, I know they still exist, but I don't know if them being a team is still a thing. But anyway,
That's cool.
really good stuff. Later arcs reintroduced Martian Manhunter, a new Hawk Girl, John Stewart, Green Lantern, to the main Justice League title. Tied into big events like Dark Knight's Metal, No Justice, Year of the Villain, all these kind of things. Then I'm pretty sure the most recent one that we have leads up to the dawn of DC, which is the Infinite Frontier. And this is the core Justice League as of 2021, which was Superman, Batman, eventually Wonder Woman, Aquaman, which is two different Aquamen, The Flash, two different Flashes, Barry Allen or Wally West, Black Canary, Hawk Girl, Green Arrow, Naomi.
Who's that?
I have no idea. Hippolyta, very briefly. Couple other things. Hippolyta, yeah.
Who's that?
I don't know. Haven't been keeping up with the latest Justice League titles. But I did read Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths. They brought back like some of the it was a letdown for me. I'm like, this is where Infinite Crisis was a fantastic follow-up to Crisis on Infinite Earths. Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths was like, what was the point of that by the end of it? I'm like, you could have gone, in my head, 3 different ways, and you went the worst way. But hey, there are other Justice Leagues as well that we see in comics. There's several of them, actually, but some of the more prevalent ones are Justice League Dark, which I already talked about. Justice League Odyssey, which was like a cosmic-focused team. So Cyborg, Starfire, Azrael, even Darkseid, under very, very special circumstances. Jessica Cruz was also a part of that, Green Lantern. It was a lot of space related stuff, which only lasted a couple of years because, I mean, Green Lantern kind of has the
Space.
the whole space thing wrapped up. I mean, it's a whole army. Just let them do that. Let them do the space stuff. Justice League 3000, or 3001, based on the title, is a future-based series by Keith Giffen and J.M. DeMatteis, featuring clone-like versions of the Big Five. So we got a Superman, a Batman, a Wonder Woman, a Flash, and a Green Lantern, but all set in the 31st century.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, interesting stuff. And then, of course, that leads into Legion of Superheroes, which we see. Well, they even do that in Smallville. Toward the end, we have the Legion of Superheroes come back in the future for a little bit. But yeah, those are the main spinoffs. So out of the comics, we have the Super Friends, which is the dumbest name, but it was in the 70s. And so Super Friends, Saturday morning cartoons by Hanna-Barbera. Superman, Batman, Robin, because Batman and Robin. Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and then teen sidekicks Wendy, Marvin, and later the Wonder Twins and their monkey, whom I don't remember the name of.
Apu.
No. This was a lighthearted, family-friendly series loosely based on the Justice League, though it used the Super Friends moniker. Like, they even called themselves the Super Friends, which is lame. It had several different iterations and shows. The all-new Super Friends Hour, Challenge of the Super Friends, the world's greatest Super Friends, on and on. It introduced key DC characters to younger audiences, became a classic staple of superhero animation. Then we got to the Timmverse. Bruce Timm, James Tucker, Dwayne McDuffie, among others, created... initially, I believe they created the Batman animated series that was so popular in the 90s, but they then went on to create Justice League, which ran from 2001 to 2004, and then Justice League Unlimited, which ran from 04 to 06. So the original lineup of the first series was Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Jon Stewart, Green Lantern, The Flash, Wally West, Hawkgirl, and Martian Manhunter. This is why most people our age and older, we were like on the tail end of this generation.
Okay.
Associate Green Lantern more with Jon Stewart.
Okay.
Because this was a very popular Saturday morning cartoon. And it was really the first one for our generation, for millennials and Gen
Z?
Not quite Gen Z. Zennials, I guess. The kind of splitsy. No. Gen X and millennial splitsies. That's what I'm thinking of. This was the first kind of exposure to a mainstream Green Lantern they had outside of comics. If they weren't a comic book fan, but they liked superheroes in general, this was their first exposure. Wally West, The Flash as well. It was like, so for a lot of people our age, Wally West and Jon Stewart, those are the Flash and Green Lantern. Not Hal Jordan and Barry Allen, who Jeff Johns resurrected in the later 2000s.
Okay.
When they went to Unlimited, the second series there, they just blew up the roster. Supergirl became very key, Black Canary, Green Arrow, Captain Atom, and then they just kept pulling in people. So it kind of became a Brave and the Bold type situation where just like every week you might have a different hero joining in the core team. Hugely influential in DC animation. It combined classic Justice League lore with modern storytelling. Justice League Unlimited kind of shifted from a Monster of the Week thing to more serialized arcs that involved the entire DC universe, which is really cool. And went a long way to not talk down to the fans watching. Okay. Because, you know, the Monster of the Week gimmick is always fun, but it's low brain power. Like, you don't need to be constantly watching. You don't need to remember all this lore. Right. You know, you just need to remember this. It's fun, sure, but it also is a little condescending sometimes. And comic books were kind of that way too. If your comic book was self-contained into one issue, okay, that's great for that issue. But if you want like a real story that has twists and turns and, you know, things that you don't see coming,
needs to go
needs to go on arc.
Makes sense.
I believe typically a DC Comics storyline now lasts like 5 to 6 issues, usually enough to put into a little trade paperback, which I think is good. That's a good length of time. I think that's usually half a year, maybe 3 months, depending on how often the title comes out.
It's a long time to wait.
Yeah. It's not like a weekly episode. But that's what made 52 so popular, because that was a massive undertaking, a huge story, that a new issue came out every single week for an entire year. That was cool. A big deal. Yeah. And it was so well done. Like, they pulled it off so much. So then we moved on to animated movies. DC Comics has always had the leg up on Marvel when it comes to the animated movies. Like, DC animated movies are usually top tier. Very few of them are flops. We had specific Justice League ones like The New Frontier, The Flashpoint Paradox, Justice League War. Several New 52 inspired ones came out during that time as well. And then in 2016, we had Cartoon Network's animated series Justice League Action, which had Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman as the main characters, and then kind of a rotating thing with The Flash, Green Arrow, Hawkman, Swamp Thing, and many others. These were like 11-minute fast-paced episodes that skewed towards a younger audience, even younger than those that would watch Justice League Unlimited back in the day, but not quite little kids.
When did they come out?
Like 2016 to 2018.
Okay.
Embraced a wide range of DC characters still within the classic Justice League element. The things that you and I guess, are more familiar with that we were really into are Smallville and the Arrowverse. Not so much with you with the Arrowverse. You kind of fell out of that fairly quickly.
Yeah, I had a lot of the drama that early Smallville had.
Early Smallville drama was a lot. Yeah. It got so much better so quickly. once we got the Flash in there and Supergirl in the mix, and they started doing the crossovers and stuff, it was really fun. But again, it only lasted as long as the stories were keeping up, and it was hard to watch the Arrowverse for a long time because they were so interconnected. You felt like you had to be watching every show, and there was a point where there were like 6 shows going simultaneously,
Right.
which was a lot to keep up with. We, in fact, at lovethynerd.com, we painstakingly put together a watch order for the entire Arrowverse, which has been our #1 article for the last several months, if you want to go see it. But we have it set up like by chunks of episodes in order chronologically if you want to undertake all of that. I believe every one of those shows is on Netflix right now.
Holy cow.
Undertake it. It's worth it once. But what was the big deal with that was they were building a Justice League slowly.
Right.
Unfortunately, it took them so long to get to that point. It wasn't until they did the Crisis on Infinite Earths, which was really the last big crossover. They had a couple more crossovers, but they weren't as massive in scale, due in part to COVID and also in part to the fact that most of the other shows were being canceled. Like at one point, it was just The Flash left.
Right.
But Crisis on Infinite Earths kind of ended with Hall of Justice and the big table that they would all sit at, like the classic Super Friends style.
Right.
This is where we are. We all have our chair with our logo on the back. It's going to be cool. And it was. It was really dope. That episode was really cool. That was the table aspect was paid homage to in Smallville. Towards the end, we saw Clark meet up with a bunch of older heroes from the Justice Society. But before that, what we had was him slowly building the Justice League. We would have a Brave and the Bold style episode once a season, beginning with, I think roughly once a season, beginning with the 4th season, I believe, where we see Arthur Curry for the first time, Aquaman. So we see AC for the first time in his orange shirt and his green shorts. And that's the first time he encounters another human who's actually a good guy with superpowers. He didn't get his powers from kryptonite rocks.
Some weird thing.
Yeah, it's like this is a whole different thing. Bart Allen was next, Impulse, who is a later Flash. But Bart Allen was next. The next season. Cyborg, I think, might have been that same season, but separated by several episodes. And then we had Green Arrow, which was Justin Hartley, come in for a couple quick episodes and then like a long arc in one of the seasons. And then he's kind of a recurring main character for the rest of the show as a love interest for Chloe Sullivan. But we got to see that one big episode finally called Justice, where it was all 5 of them
Right.
having to take down some big thing. And they're all walking away in slow motion from a giant explosion behind them. And you see it like zoom in on them and then zoom in on Clark. And they're all wearing their primary color versions of their outfits. And it's just, it was so good. They did it so well for that time.
Yeah.
Because that was unheard of back then.
Right.
It was beautiful. And so we would have, as the Smallville went on, it became more comic book inspired, less CW teen drama, very much more comic book. So we would see hero cameos much more often. It was just, well, we saw, I forgot there were more. There was a Black Canary and Zatanna that came towards the end.
I remembered Zatanna.
Yeah. And then they teased, Chloe Sullivan teased a wondrous woman and a rich guy with a bunch of toys, teased Wonder Woman and Batman towards the end, but we never got to see either one of them. Supergirl, of course, was a character in an entire season, I think season 7. It just, Brainiac 5. We had Brainiac the villain, but then we had Brainiac 5 from the future. And like I said, we also had cameos from the League of Superheroes from the future.
Didn't we see the Martian too? He was in Smallville.
Yes.
Yeah.
I forgot all about him. Yeah. The Martian Manhunter was there too.
Because he said everyone forgets.
Yeah. Everyone forgets Aquaman. Aquaman was the first one. That was crazy. Why would they pick Aquaman to be the first cameo? Anyway.
Yeah.
It's always, again, it just underscores the fact that it's always what you say.
Because he starts with A. They're going alphabetically.
So it's clearly. Aquaman, then Bart. Yeah. See? Then Cyborg. ABCs. Right there. Did it really go alphabetically though? Like you said it as a joke, but then Green Arrow,
I don't know. We'd have to.
Then Martian Manhunter, then Supergirl. Now I need to know this. Black Canary's in there, and that's going to screw it all up.
Dang it!
Great.
Zatanna, if she's not at the end, then there that goes.
But anyway, it underscores this thing, I guess, that has been the case since the 60s, is that seeing our favorite superheroes team up, just it's exponential. Like it just makes it that much better.
Right.
Which is why it was kind of a big letdown with the DCEU. I said we weren't going to talk about it earlier, but now we're there. Now we're here. Batman versus Superman, Dawn of Justice. Man of Steel was great. I know it had its detractors because Superman killed Zod at the end. And Superman doesn't kill people. Look, that's the story he was telling. The story he was telling was how Clark Kent got to that point where he realized he can't kill people anymore. He realized that in that moment, Zod, who had all the same powers as him, was not going to stop. He told him, I'm not going to stop. He told him, you're going to have to kill me because I'm not going to stop. And so he had to make the choice to kill him. And he killed him, and then he screamed his head off because he was so mad that he had to kill him. That's where he made the vow that he would never kill again in his heart. You had to see that. But you didn't. You were just mad. Anyway. Man of Steel was great.
Can we talk about that some more?
Batman versus Superman Dawn of Justice was supposed to be good. And the director's cut is much better than what we got in the end. Thank you, Warner Brothers, and your cutting room. But it still did have that resonating like pump of we're getting them. We didn't even see most of the Justice League, the secondary team, the B team part of the Justice League,
right,
except for like camera footage of them. Right? It was like the Flash stopping a robber in a convenience store as he's buying milk. It was Cyborg being worked on by his dad. It was Arthur Curry destroying a camera underwater. I don't remember. But like, you know, little bits and pieces, just little teases of them. Uh-huh. But even that was like, yes, it's coming. It's coming. And then the pile of garbage that the original version of the Justice League that came out, which isn't, again, the version we got first, let's put it that way, of the Justice League that came out. Mm-hmm. Well, from the very first shot with Superman's CGI lip quivering because they had to badly Vaseline out his mustache because it was a reshoot and he was already working on another movie where he had to have a mustache and they wouldn't let him cut it for the reshoots. And the CGI was just so bad. It's like his lip was quivering, like he was about to cry the whole time, or he had like a worm in his upper lip. Like it was just the worst looking thing. And that's how we started the movie. It was bad. And we didn't even get black suit Superman in that movie, which is what everyone wanted. You come back from the dead, you're in the black suit. And they just gave him his normal suit and made it brighter. We didn't want that at the time. And it was weird.
Yeah, they could have like ended with that, right?
So yeah, end with getting back in your suit or something. I wanted to like it. I wanted to defend it so bad, but I can't defend it like I can defend Man of Steel. It was just awful. But then the world demanded the Snyder cut. So Zack Snyder had the vision, but unfortunately had his daughter passed away and he needed to leave the production at that time. And Joss Whedon came in. Everyone loves Joss Whedon at the time. We don't really like him much now because I've been found out that he was a jerk to a lot of people. But that's hearsay. I don't really know if any of that's true or if it's he said, she said. But I know we aren't talking about him a lot anymore. But at the time, like I think he was the one, I'm pretty sure he's who led up the first Avengers movie. He was, because someone always dies in a Joss Whedon thing. And we lost.
Gotcha.
We lost the great Agent Coulson. But we had him take over. Like, okay, this could be great.
Right.
It was not great. And the world demanded the original vision. And they kept telling us it doesn't exist, never happened. We never finished it. We don't have all the footage. We can't. Couldn't possibly. But then they had a new streaming service they needed to push. And they needed something big to get people on that streaming service initially. And they're like, you know what?
Look what we have.
Let's do it. Let's release it. Let's make a 4-hour Justice League movie. Let's bring back Zack Snyder. Let's bring back every cast member and film some more stuff to fill in the holes. Let's make sure all our CGI is on point. Let's put him in the black suit. Let's re-release and make it all in black and white to give it that big feel too. Like they did everything. And it's a long movie, but it is so much better. And I really wish we could have finished that because it teased, a second part in a desolate wasteland of the future. Could have been really, really good. And so now we're heading into James Gunn's Reboot, where it was just announced we're not doing origin stories pretty much at all. We're jumping in.
Good.
Jumping in with both feet. And yeah, that's fine. We've had plenty of, especially Superman. Had plenty of Superman origin stories. Superman and Batman do not need another origin story. Everybody got it. Everybody get it. We got it. We good. But like they're already, it's not even a surprise. It's already going to feature other superheroes.
Okay.
Now,
Good.
I don't know if this is going to be a Justice League, but it's got, we saw Green Lantern. We saw a couple other people already established in this movie. Like it's going to be, we're already a team somehow, some way. And so I'm excited to see what this is going to feel like. Is it going to feel like Guardians of the Galaxy-esque, you know? Wouldn't be the exact same because they're all kind of criminals. But the fact that they chose Guy Gardner, the angriest, most cantankerous version of Green Lantern, to be the Green Lantern in this film, played by Nathan Fillion, who can do no wrong, makes me excited. I'm excited to see what this version of DC's team-ups is going to look like.
Yeah.
As for the comics, don't know. But I do know that it's always going to be Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman at the top. And they're always going to have a Flash. And they're always going to have a Green Lantern. And they're probably always going to have someone from the water.
A waterman.
A waterman. It's a feeling that I don't think we stop feeling. Because again, like I said, with like the Avengers movies, that first Avengers, fantastic. Oh my gosh, we're here.
Right.
Avengers 2, it was basically the same team. You're like, but this is still fun. Civil War, 2 big teams fighting each other. That's great. Thor Ragnarok, I'm going to throw in as well. The Hulk and Thor in the movie, it was the best one. Infinity War, our hearts broke even though we knew this was a movie. We saw half the whole team just up and gone.
Right.
And we're like,
What?
And then Endgame, when they all come back at the end, we're just, one of my guilty pleasures, I still do every now and then, is watching like people react to that scene in that movie. And I just see people crying, just bawling their eyes out as every one of them yelling out every name as they return. And like, this kind of thing is not, you don't get that same reaction to single hero movies,
right?
Single hero comics.
Right.
There's a reason why DC Comics and usually Marvel Comics has a big yearly, let's get them all together. It's the whole universe. This big thing's affecting all of it. Blackest Night is my favorite. Crisis on Infinite Earths, Infinite Crisis, also really good. Final Crisis, a little dark, but still pretty good. Those kind of things just draw us in to a sense of camaraderie, like we're a part of the team. It's like, this is big and we're here for it. And I don't think we're going to get tired of that. We might get tired of the superhero genre from time to time. There is Marvel fatigue right now for a lot of people.
Right.
But as soon as that Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret War hit, we're all going to be back in the theater. As soon as we found out it's going to be Tony Stark playing Victor Von Doom,
right?
Some version of Victor Von Doom, we're like, all right, we're back in. Might not be what I planned on what we planned on doing here, but I like this much more than I liked Kang. So, like, it's this kind of, it's just a draw. It's this. We want the feeling of teamwork. We want the feeling of working together. It's something that we want as people.
Right.
We want to find our strengths and connect with other people who have better strength. That's what parents are. What you suck at, I can be good at, and what I suck at, you can be good at. Or if we're mismatched, then we're good at the same things and we suck at the same things. And that's also a form of camaraderie.
Win-win.
Win-win-win at that point.
I stink at nothing, by the way.
She's flawless. Absolutely flawless. Look at that hair. She's almost 40. Look at that hair.
Almost 40.
Don't tell them my business.
39-year-old.
Subscribe to the Nerd History Podcast via our YouTube channel at Nerd History LTN or Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc. You can find us at lovethynerd.com/nerdhistorypod. We also have our daily Today in Nerd History video short that comes out every day on YouTube here on this channel and on the Love Thy Nerd TikTok. And you can find a full daily article with more nerdy facts on the front page of lovethynerd.com each and every morning. We will be back in February where we will discuss a movie that we have seen over and over and over and over and over again. But until then, I'm Radio Matt.
And I'm Daver.
And remember that in the past, present, and the future,
Jesus loves you, nerds.